Check one, check two. All right, this is it. We're doing it. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour with your host, me, Rob Cantrell. Oh man, I got an exciting episode, an awesome guest. You know her from the Dope Queens show on HBO. She also has been on Comedy Central. She's also been on the Colbert late night show, Late Night with Stephen Colbert. And I toured with her opening for Tracy Morgan. Please give it up for the one and only Pat Brown.
That's amazing. That is amazing. When you pull about like intros, you take out the layers, you take out the layer of the audience, you take out the layer of the acoustics, you take out the layer of the announcer, and it's just raw. And that's what that intro was. It's just raw. But if you put it on top of a lot of layers, it would be so exciting. But
we got layers. I got some funky beats. I got a little organ underneath.
Oh, okay.
I know it sounds weird now, but when I juice
no, I can imagine it. I can imagine it with all that.
We're going to send it over to Daddy's house, and it's going to blow up. I'm telling you. I've been mixing and mastering with GarageBand. I'm getting all this stuff. Yeah, I do this podcast all myself, Pat. You know, I edit it. I record it. I get a little bit better each time. I get cooler guests each time, like yourself, Pat Brown. One of the funniest, coolest comedians in the New York scene right now. And I got the privilege to tour with you, Pat. Just to start off, Pat, when I met you, you were on the set of The Last OG, and then you were already kind of opening for Tracy. And then I got pulled into helping and opening with him as well. But I got to know you, and what I found fascinating is you were a Division I basketball player. Where did you play basketball?
I played basketball. I got a scholarship to play basketball at South Carolina State, and I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. So the opportunity to go away from my home state was actually ideal, and that's what I wanted. I had never been to the South before, and I was gay, and I was in the closet back then, and so just going away and
Kansas City is kind of.
I just wanted to be away from my parents and be wherever I was going to be, or be wild without the surveillance of your parents. So that just seems like a great opportunity. I don't know if it was about basketball too, of course, but it's also the opportunity. I don't know. I think if I wasn't gay, I would probably have been scared to go. And it's just like I think something about gay kids that come to New York and all these different people that travel away from their home state. It's just that I want to be different somewhere where I don't have the scrutiny of my parents or my family. So that was the thing that pushed me out the nest, and that's actually was the one of the best moves I've ever made.
And your jump shot.
Oh my
jump shot got you.
Yeah, exactly. Actually my game is, and I'm viewing it through this lens now, but my game is pretty much. I think maybe it's indicative of a lot of people. Your game is, and I'll say this as a matter of fact, it might not be true at all, but I think a person's game is their personality. Honestly, because I was sheriff, but I could shoot, I could pass, but I think my game. I'm one of those people that who I am now is I liked everybody to be involved. I liked. I get it's just much as
ball moving around. You want some picks. We want a lot of different looks.
Yeah, and I had control of that thing, and I loved.
Well, you were the point. You would run the point.
Yes, but I could shoot, and so.
So
that was. I think that's who I am as a person. I like connection. I like. It doesn't have to be all about me. It has to be all about us women and enjoying the process and and getting involved. And so yeah, it was just wonder, because it's nothing about a like, you scoring is one thing, and then your people are happy for you. But if you set them up to score, they are even more happy, you know. And so you are part of that, and it's so
Oh, I
it
think
was a great experience.
basketball is so artistic and soulful out of all the sports. And I played football, I played lacrosse, I wrestled. My
Did you?
brother, yeah,
Nice.
I wrestled since I was the third in the state in wrestling. Um,
Wow,
in,
nice.
in high school. And then I played public school football, hardcore Friday night lights, and from the 8th grade on. But I never was, I liked hanging out with the team. It was all social for me. I was a goofball. I was
Yeah.
never the lead dude. My brother was a great basketball player, still is. My dad played, had a full ride at Virginia Tech for
Wow, nice.
basketball. But in the 50s, like when they did the, the under the, when they did it this style, when they shot the free throws. I mean,
Yeah.
my age, and my dad had me when he was 40, so he grew up in the 50s or whatever. But I think it's so interesting that you brought up that you were gay and in the closet, and I do know that feeling of running away from small town politics or even your home politics. There is a point where you're just like, I'm sick of these motherfuckers. I'm sick of these conversations. I know where everything's going to go. I can't really be myself. So letting go and running to New York, or I went to San Francisco. I ran and went. That's where I started comedy, started doing
Yeah.
open mics. I didn't start in DC. I had all my leftover clowns and goofballs and all the dudes still living at their mom's basement and shit like that. Like, I wanted to get away from those cats. I wanted to start completely new and then go into creativity, so there is kind of something cool about that you got a scholarship, you got that for free, you got that
Yeah.
that's
I
dope.
get. Yeah, I ran away and had a bus ticket. Yeah, exactly. They had a bus ticket that was paid for me, provided for me, and I knew I had room and board. So it was. I don't know if I can consider that running away, but Kansas City is not a small town. It's a big. I always tell people it's a big cow town, meaning it's really spread out. It's a lot of land or whatever. But what I was running away from the conservative,
Yeah,
uh, you know, kind of the way that our society in Missouri ran, and then in itself a smaller, more particular um, uh, weight of impression from black my black family life. My mother was heavily into the church,
yeah,
and let me just say this: my mother is a lover of people, but I think her, like everybody during the times, like gay is whatever it was, it wasn't accepted, and so I knew that. Although I knew that she loved me, I knew my father loved me. But it's also I still was scared to come out. And didn't really come out until after I got out of college. But I didn't want. I wanted to be everything that I was going to be without having to justify it with my family or have to go through that with my family. I wanted to, okay, if I'm gonna be this thing, let me try this thing out. And if I like it, then I'm strong enough to confront you with it. But if I don't like it, I can just crawl back and then I'll pretend that it never happened. So
uh
I wasn't sure what it was going to be after I left, but I that was one of the best things, and I've absolutely fell in love with the South. And then the South
South
became
cool in its own way. Yeah, I lived in Virginia. A lot of my family's all from Virginia and Tennessee. Yeah.
well. Let me say this too: Black South, which is different from White South, and I went to South Carolina State, and so the weather I love or whatever. But it's the same reason that I left Missouri. I had to eventually leave South Carolina. I had to eventually leave Georgia because when I started doing comedy, I felt confined by the 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 Christian small town mindset, the um,
Lack of
of being able,
diversity in
yeah.
some senses.
And yeah, well, not because I moved from college. I moved to Georgia, so it wasn't a lack of diversity. It was just a lack
Yeah,
of.
but I will say, like being in New York and being exposed to like in DC, it was either black or white, and in the South, it's either black or white. When you come to New York, you
It
learn
is.
about Jewish people, you learn about Hasidic people, you learn about Caribbean people, you learn like there's it's not one or two. It is here. It's like a
Yeah.
prism of different people that I had to even get over my caveman mentality and be like, whoa, there's a lot more going on in these deep cultures than I ever even realized, you know?
I used to tell people about. I was like, New York is one of the best experiences in the world because it's the only place that you can you'll hear of a Pakistani guy telling an English man to go back where he came from.
It's all mixed up here, man. It is all mixed up here. That's where,
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah.
freaks and the weirdos. I do you still love New York, or where you at with your New York vibe? Because we're not New Yorkers at the end of the day.
I don't know. I've been here over 10 years. I think they say 10 years. But I'm not claiming New York like that.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
been here since 2005. I'm 15 years, and I still don't feel like a New Yorker.
I
When I'm around Tracy and Mark and Artie, those dudes are New York.
and I feel the same way. I have a friend, Jenny Saldana. She's been here since day one, and she's Dominican. And yeah, so yeah, every time I'm thinking that I'm New York esque, she'll say something. I'm like, okay, I'm not a New Yorker. Yeah, because they'll tell you about a time in a governor or how the city was this and that and what was there and what wasn't there. So yeah, they have a history to the city that I think people coming in, we're just coming into. We in the shadows of that history.
Yeah, that shadows of everybody, all the immigrants pouring over here, the subway transit system, how the buildings. I was listening to Chuck D on a podcast. He was just saying how the buildings are stacked just geographically, how everything's like more but packed in. Like you just don't get it until you get it. And then you're like, wow, this is dynamite in some way.
Yeah, I always said this to this like this one friend I was just telling you earlier that his brother died. The first time he came, this is first and only time he's ever left Georgia. Uh, but anyway, he was coming in on the flight, and I said something to him, and I said, he said, how I know when I get to the city? I said, just look out the window, you'll know you in New York City. And then when he called me from the airport, he's like, "Oh, I know what you mean. It's something about seeing all those. It's a sight that you've seen in movies or whatever all the time, but until you actually see that, you're like, oh my god, this is New York. This is the New York I see it on television. Yeah,
Yep,
this is."
yep.
And he was so like that, and I was like, yes, it's something like you'll never see. This is such an iconic city, and to live here.
And it teaches me how small I am. You know, it keeps my ego in check
Yeah.
because it's so big and there's so much going on and it's so deep and rich in history. But it's ever changing because everybody's trying to survive. So it always is like the older I get, I think I had it all figured out at 25. But man, there's a million gazillion.
Did you think you had to figure it out at 25?
I don't know. I think I kind of. I was cocky and confident. I thought I didn't think I had it all figured out, but I thought I was naive and I think I still am naive of how big this whole thing is and how many people there are. You know, that's the thing that trips me out. And that's what trips me out about sexuality and fluidity of sexuality right now. Cause I get it, because it's like not everybody can be the fucking same. It's not. There's just too many people, and everybody's slightly a little different, and everybody has a little bit of a change here and a twist there, no matter race, color, or you could break it down, but everybody's a little bit different. So you can't say sexuality.
I always break it down to jambalaya or what's the other drink? Long Island iced tea. Long Island iced tea is all the liquors are in there, but the amount of whatever's in there, like amount of rum, the amount of whiskey, the amount that difference, and that difference, just like jambalaya, is so many ingredients in that, but the amounts change, and so that's how we have. I think about people. If you have a tad bit of this part of your DNA, and you have a little bit more of this and that, that influences the flavor of who you are. And so when people say they are gay, they're trans or whatever, I believe you.
Yeah.
That's all you have to. I believe you, because it's too hard to be to pretend to be something.
Yes.
It is so hard. It's so easy. It's so much easier uh to be yourself. People would always like I
Still
have
hard to be yourself because nobody's really truly being their self because we all
just imagine if you're telling yourself, okay, I have to be this certain way, but what if you're easier to tell yourself that than for society to tell you, okay, on top of you're trying to be this thing, I want you to put another layer on. I need you to be. I want you to do that with a smile and be feminine and cross your legs and wear a dress. And so, on top of all that, society is telling you you should be a certain other way, and that's just a lot. That is heavy.
heavy. Yeah, society pressures, and yeah, I think that's where we're heading towards. Is like these roles of male, female, strong, like everything that you're supposed to be. Not everybody is, and everybody is who they are, and
Right.
they're the truth. Like with meditation, I'm learning there all there is there's what is
Talk
and
about
what is
that.
to be. The only thing is like, yo, I'm a 48-year-old dude right now drinking hemp tea. I got some great hemp tea grown by the Amish. I got to interview these Amish farmers that grow hemp in Pennsylvania, and they sent me a bunch of it, and I'm drinking it, and it brings my blood pressure down. It's really good.
Do you feel it in any psychedelic way, or is it just is it like a not
Yeah, it's more of a wellness thing. Yeah, this is high CBD. I had some great weed. I was stacked up. The only thing about weed, it always runs out. But this guy said, always, no matter how much you got, no matter how much you love it, and you don't think it's ever going to run out, it's going to eventually run out. But I do like smoking, and I do like a good spliff, and I roll the CBD flower the same way. And what it is, it gives you the same wellness. It like when after I smoke pot, I can feel my knees feel better, my joints feel better. I'm a little bit calmer. So yeah, it's high CBD, and then there's another one, but it doesn't have the. I'm tripped out, so I'm not talking to you and thinking about space aliens right now. I'm talking to you.
yeah, yeah, I really it I never really enjoyed the high because it always came with a paranoia, and so
Understandable.
yeah, and so I never enjoyed that process of it. It's like I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Oh, this feels good, and so I don't want to go through that just to get to the other side of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man.
Yeah, it's I always say it's a psychoactive, and when you deal with brain chemistry, you have to be, you have to feel for yourself. But there are studies that it blocks Alzheimer's. For me, it just works. I don't know what it is, and but I do think sometimes cannabis might hold me back from being more assertive in situations.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I do
Yeah,
believe,
less that with cocaine.
yeah, yeah, I know.
There you go.
I gotta start
Perfect little
doing.
match. Yeah, perfect little match right there.
Yeah, that is the Woolers. I think they used to call it. You roll up a little bit of coke powder in your weed, but it's not really good. I'm the anti-coke. Is the thing is like
Well,
I don't.
I think they are in opposition of each other, because one is a stimulant and one is a depressant, and so yeah, chemically it doesn't. It's not a good. Uh, synergy
Synergy, but
that.
I remember back in the day, I always say is like the best weed before weed got like legal and shit. Coke dealers had the best weed. they,
Why is that? You
because they
think?
had the best money, and then if you're dealing a lot of coke, you have to have something to come down on. So a lot of coke dudes take like Tylenol PM after like a 5-day binge. This is like some dirtbaggy shit. They'll take
No,
that.
I need this because I do Adderall from now and time to time, and I crash on Adderall, and so I'm just wondering what do they do?
Yeah. The cokeheads used to smoke really good weed to, calm it all down, but then they would get jacked backed up. So, the coke and the weed man has always been kind of near each other, but they are polar opposites. I think one intensifies the ego, and there's some just, coke is just, it just gets in there. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but I know the travesty it did to United States of America, just like growing up. I remember that Lynn Bias death and John Belushi death, like imprinted into my brain, and I was thinking about how strong forces of energy both those guys were. Like a comedian when he's 31, just finishing 2 killer movies, like just drop. A basketball player that could have been better than Jordan, just drop, just drop them in their tracks at the height of their energy level, So it's like, that's a bad month. You don't want to mess. I don't know. I always took heed to it. But I did. I found cannabis in coming to San Francisco and away from DC, and it always saved me from drinking is what I always use, and cigarettes. I don't, there was, with being social, there's a pressure to have 3 or 4 drinks.
It is.
And with drinking, I thought having a beer and a cigarette went together. Like they just tasted good together. It's just that cold, that loose. I get it. That loose social feel is fun. You need it.
So did you smoke? Did you ever?
Yeah, I smoked cigarettes. I did tobacco. I've done, in Virginia, I was my dad died.
You said in Virginia, it's required.
Required. No, my high school, it was. I was telling, man, there was a radiator. I went to a little rednecky high, and I can't say. I keep on saying that, and I know people from Virginia listen to this, and I have good friends and teachers and everything there. But it was like, kids dip skull big chews in their mouth during class. In the back of the radiators was filled with tobacco spit. There was a smoking tree at the high school. Everybody smoked. Tobacco was accepted as the norm in our society. And even if you were 13 and sneaking cigarettes and dipping, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
But at the same time, I look back and I think, tobacco is toxic and causes cancer, and it's not good for you at all. I think cannabis.
I think the tobacco that's in cigarettes is more poisonous because of all the chemicals they added to it. But the tobacco plant is, I don't know if it's not as bad as the cigarette, but I don't know if it's as good or has as many beneficial properties as weed, but it's not as bad as the cigarette you actually get that corporations are selling us.
Yeah. I mean, I always say the South they could make a lot of money if these rednecks would get off their ass and start growing weed. I mean, it was all tobacco country in Virginia. And that's how our country was built, on slavery. That's how we got the free labor. And it was from tobacco and cotton. And I'm like, man, you guys fucking. And then they took slavery away, and then the South went down economically. And if they took around, just start growing some weed.
You said it's black people's fault that the South went down.
No, it's black people's fault. It's black people's fault that America is so awesome. And I've always believed that no way that our country could be. There's no way our country could be where we are without what terribly happened. It's starting to get a little bit deep, Pat, and I know how well versed you are, so I'm a little scared on even going there because I respect Black culture in America so much, who have been so good to me and have had my back at so many different occasions. But I don't know. Yeah, that and we could go right into politics there, because I do think that awareness of white supremacy and all these talks about culture and society is starting to open up. And even a 40-something-year-old dude like me, who's just a regular, blockbuster, just a regular dude, is starting to understand how deep rooted this stuff is.
Yeah, so even to this, because I just read the headline where Jay Leno apologized to Asian American community and about his jokes against the Asian American community, and he said in his heart he knew it was wrong. And this is my, this is I could see if he thought it was okay, but he's doing something that he thought it was wrong. It's like, wow, really? For what? Um,
For laughs, because
for
that's when you
laughs,
start
because
getting comedy.
honestly,
You're
I
right.
used to.
I wasn't talking about comedy, but you're right. Is like, because we're up against the laughs. If we don't get the laughs, we don't get paid.
Yeah, but so early in my career, I started out in a black club, uh, all black club, which was
Yeah.
only two in the country at the time, and so Comedy Act Theater in Atlanta, and so it's sometimes you and I wasn't raised with the N word, so but just being amongst a lot of black people, whatever they use the word just loosely or whatever. And so I got it in my vocabulary, being in Atlanta, and started saying that in my jokes, and then and it was fine or whatever. I didn't trip off of it too much, and then I was doing shows over at uh the Punchline and more white clubs. I'm not even calling mainstream because I don't like that term. But
Yeah. Makes sense.
because that's also centered in whiteness.
Yeah,
But
that's centered in white supremacy. I
yeah,
totally get it.
yeah. Well, I don't know white supremacy as much as just whiteness. It's like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the main. The mainstream is the white room, and the black room is urban. So, because the room that I came up in, that was a bigger room. It was more people in that room. By volume, if we was going to say by volume, the room was more effective by black comedy in that room. And so to say that wasn't the mainstream room, I don't want to be a part of that. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I get
so
it.
I went over to the Punchline, and I started doing shows over there. And then my rhythm, my cadence was so dependent on that N word ending the punchline or in the middle of a punchline. And I was like, I don't want to say this word in front of white people. This is not, it's like having
Yeah,
a family nickname, and you're going to somebody outside of your house is calling you the nickname. So I was like, no, I don't, I'm not crazy about the word, because this is my thing about when black people use the word. Uh, we didn't change the meaning of the word. We just added a different definition to it, because black people will still use it in its pernicious, very hateful usage, and then turn around and use it as in its most beloved usage. So then you didn't change the word. And so if you have that idea that black is a synonymous with or the N word is synonymous with something black and not great, then I don't want to use that word, and I don't want to use that word on my people. So I stopped using the word because it didn't feel right. And so for Jay Leno to go for so many years of using these tropes to be funny and feel like it wasn't right, I was like, damn. I mean, what kind of person? I don't know. I'm not questioning him. I think overall he's probably a decent person. I don't know.
yeah,
Uh, but to just go gun ho with like a bad feeling, and you still do it. I don't know what to feel about that.
yeah. That's thank you for sharing that. And that's such a complex issue.
Mhm.
And with Jay like, yeah, if you feel something's wrong, you got to back off of it. is the simplest thing, and I've tried to do edgy material and I've done jokes that I'm ashamed of or look back
Me
on.
too, man.
And I'm like,
I've
"What
done
the fuck
jokes
was
that
that?" I'm glad I wasn't famous when I was trying to spit that shit.
Ooh, I have done jokes that I am not happy about. But that's also too.
But
Uh,
I've grown and been like, okay, time to move on. I learned that lesson. Like I
right.
learned
You
that lesson
evolve.
that was putting me in a weird space that I didn't feel my true higher self.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I was kind of leaning into showbiz, like being your higher self in Buddhism or meditation is what I've been trying to do is, just trying to be the best you could do in every given moment. And it's not always going to be working. But with show business and money and mortgages on the line and shit like that, like comedy's just like you can look at it and be like, that guy just killed, but what did he actually say?
Yeah. But this is
That's the
also too.
problem.
Yeah. But
Not the
also.
problem, but that's the tricky moment because comedy's an art and we're trying to create laughs and inducing laughs. I think it's a lot like martial arts. Like you can use karate to be defense. That's where I think humor is. God gave us humor. It's for defense when shit goes down, to
Mhm.
make this madness that we're living in, trying to relate to each other and get a laugh. That's when everything kind of feels more comfortable and real and human.
Right.
But you can also flip it and you can use karate to fuck somebody, you can use
Yeah.
it, and it looks the same way. It's that same energy, it's just like negative energy and positive energy. We're both playing with it, but we gotta find the balance.
And like I do have a uh, a mission statement. I've always kind of had a mission statement how I went about my comedy. Like if I never I wasn't violent with it. I didn't attack people with my comedy. That's not who I am as a person, and that's not what I wanted my comedy to be. And a lot of times
Yeah,
you enter spaces, and then I learned this fairly early on, which was a good thing for me because sometimes you get scared about when people shout out, and then I figured out early on, most of the time when people shout out, 85% of the time people shout out, they're not necessarily being derogatory. So if you listen to what they're saying, so I started addressing things that
that's a
people
true fact for all the young
actually,
comics listening.
yeah. So I didn't automatically get defensive when I heard somebody shout out. Sometimes it was just something, whatever. And so I learned to play off of it. So I was really quick about playing off of it. And so but in the short exchanges where, the few exchanges where people were being aggressive, mostly men, and there's reasons, uh, that I had to address that, and sometimes I wasn't prepared to address that because I can't do comedy feeling bad, and when I attack people, I feel bad. So I can say something funny, but I'm much funnier when I'm feeling good. And a lot of people can
Same.
do, and a lot of people can do attack comedy, and that's where they're the funniest, and that's what they do. But I was never good at that because it literally makes me feel bad. It puts
Yeah,
me,
same, and it makes me feel less funny. It's just faking the funk. Like if you're not being yourself.
yeah.
But I think comedy goes in trends, and yeah, not to go too deep, but I do think I think just the masculine nature. There is something they call like the will to kill. You know, so if you have the will to kill, that's like, oh, kill this, or you know that vibe. Don't you know?
Mhm.
We are That's a part of the masculine energy, and you have to understand it. Like you shouldn't, thou shalt not kill. Like it's better to be chill and let the universe open up a little bit more. And like you said, a lot of times it's your reaction. So somebody says, oh, my popcorn's weird, but you think it sounds like, oh, you suck, and then you start yelling at them.
Mhm.
And if you even just listen to the moment, you could have had 10 minutes on the lady talking about how the popcorn's being weird.
Yeah. But that's
Uh,
also being present. And I think this is one thing that I found interesting about something that you said earlier, because you're doing a lot of meditation. I have been doing a lot of meditation too, because I am I believe in it, and it puts me in such a great space.
Yeah.
And when I'm present to like the emotions that I'm having, and I set myself early up in in the morning, the first thing I do, and this is I started this year, and this is how I want the rest of my life to be, until I found something different that is more powerful
Tell me
than
about it.
this. But I get out of bed and I immediately go into meditation. I sit and go into meditation because your brain is still in uh
Theta
in
state. Yeah.
beta state, exactly. And so you're more susceptible. And so to hearing yourself and being present in the moment, and then like things come up for me, and I was like, if I'm staying, because sometimes you carry things, and so like sometimes things come up for me, I was like, oh, I didn't even know I was carrying that, and so I have to, and I like to deal with it and whatever. But if you don't, sometimes you're carrying things that you're not aware of, and if you don't meditate, then you're carrying that around all day, and it comes, it topples on each other, it builds on each other, and you become really heavy, and you don't know why you're depressed, you don't know why you're sad. And so I felt meditation has been the one of the best things that has happened to me in my adulthood, and I'm taking it even further.
Same.
Than, yeah, I mean,
Because
I,
we don't live in the present moment because we're just all scared, and we have so many. What I'm learning is so many fantasies and dreaming and conversations, and they call it the monkey mind, when your mind starts just blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. And in American culture, they thought that was normal. Like that's part of the process. But what you learn with meditation is like that isn't real. You know, what
right,
real is your body and your breath and you breathing, and your mind's going to always do this. But if you can just slow it down, you could see those thoughts will just fly off and go somewhere else. You don't have to grip onto every thought that pops up.
right,
Um, but you can work with those emotions, like you say, when you're quiet and things do pop up, you're like, oh, that's that. And you're supposed to not deny it or throw it forward. You're supposed to just work through it and
mm-hmm.
try to examine it, and all these different feelings that you may have. But yeah, I
Right,
find, yeah, that's what I said on my last podcast about stop Asian hate and Asian cultures. Like I've been reading about Tibet. I do these stretches called the 5 Tibetan Rites, and
okay,
Tibet was all about compassion and nonviolence. And I do think at the end of the day, like if this world's ever going to work, it's going to be through compassion and nonviolence and forgiveness. I just think I've thought it over, and we could go hardcore to the paint and all that. But at the end of the day, life is just going to keep on going and going and going.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I've been learning the Asian cultures has saved me. Uh, I couldn't afford therapy the last 10 years. I had to teach myself to meditate. And that was the only way I could stop the monkey mind dancing around, which
Mm-hmm.
was stopping me from really just being myself and getting shit done. Because you're just
Yeah,
in this dream state. And especially with comedy, that's why I find so many comics have problems mentally, is that we do use our mind. We're supposed to. That's why I got into it, to let the creativity flow and see where it might go and see where I might find. But I'm learning to just be a little bit more aware of it all and not let
yeah,
like dark thoughts or dark things like hold me down, or
yeah,
paranoid thoughts, and just like, man, we're all going to eventually die. We're all just fruit, we're all just trees, we're all together. And that was the other thing that I was tripping out on, is with all this gender and race identity, was the idea of labeling. And they say in Buddhist text that I was reading, that the labeling begins the suffering. Like once you start labeling things like, oh, you're that, you're this. And that's like how society does. It goes, "Kuh," like this is this. And you try to, but if you just enjoy it all, it should be, we're all together and we're all connected and we're all learning and we're all flowing. I don't know, is that too, am I talking
no, I think it just goes to like when I was saying, if you're gay, if you're trans, if you are how you self define yourself, I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
Yeah,
What,
it's okay.
who am I to tell you what you are?
Yeah,
Yeah, as long as you're not hurting people,
yeah,
if you are happier, how does that affect me?
I know.
How does that affect me in a negative way? Yeah, it is a shift in but we've, as a society, we caught on to uh computers in our hands. Before, when we was growing, we didn't have computers in our hands.
It's
You
a
know what I'm
different
saying?
time. Yeah,
So
everything's
yeah,
gonna change.
so but we've accepted that. we but we can't accept people who say, okay, these other the way that you define us, these other labels, doesn't work for us anymore. And so that might be new to some people, but you've accepted a world where astronauts go to to the moon. You accepted a world where we got a computer in our hand. We got accepted a world where uh, uh, cars can drive themselves, and you can't accept me for saying I am this person.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
That is just
judgment. Yeah, it's judgment.
that's yeah, it's just outlandish to me. And who are, what does it change by if a person, because it's a small faction of people that are may say they're different in a lot of these different ways, but that's fine. What are you scared of?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a trip. I think it's people don't want to see change because they get comfortable. And what I'm learning that just change is inevitable. The only thing that I could say for certain is shit's going to change.
Shit is going to change,
Shit's going to
absolutely.
always change. It's always
Yeah.
going to keep on flipping. And the more I attach myself to the old world of thinking or the old style, like I can appreciate my music and stuff like that, but I don't have to like live and die by it. I could say, yo, the Young Bucks are coming out with some trippy music too that's got their own vibe. It's just like
Right.
we're at a really interesting age that we've seen kind of so many different changes, Pat. Like even seeing who's the new there's the somebody just the trans woman that just is in is it Congress or Senate? Is it
Senate? No, I don't think so. Maybe Congress.
I think Congress, the first
Congress.
trans woman was identified.
Are you talking about first trans cabinet member?
That might be the cabinet member. The lady that
Yeah.
was on, I don't know. We all watch different media now, but that was the one thing that kept on popping up to me because it was such a
Yeah, I think it's first trans cabinet member.
cabinet member. That's
Yeah.
that blows my mind,
Yeah.
just like wow.
But think about this. It took us a long time for openly gay. It wasn't we it, because what we were getting was Republican men being outed in airport bathrooms.
Yeah,
Having being outed by their lovers that they paid to have sex with, and they have to have to resign. That's what we only thing that we knew, that were gay people that were that were in the government. Now these are openly very proud to be who they are, gay, bisexual, however they define themselves, because that is America.
and they can
America,
get
America
done
should look.
better because they're not
America,
hiding. When you're hiding stuff, you're thinking about what you're hiding the whole time. You're not
exactly,
thinking about what
exactly.
you're doing. You're thinking about what's over here and what's over there. But when you're out and just like, yo, I may be funky, but you got to fucking deal with it. This is
Oh
it.
yeah, when you're out, it's like you can't. You're not going to find out anything out about me because I just told you.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about hiding this because I just told you. But also to that, we should be the our representation should reflect our country. Our leaders should reflect how we look as a country, and our country looks like gay. Our country looks like bisexual and poly and all
Yeah,
black
you're
and
black and Latino and Jewish and
yeah.
redhead. We got everybody. We got
Get us an
everybody.
Amish person up there that don't
Yeah, Amish dude that grows weed and doesn't have an iPhone.
Travels by horse and buggy to to get to the Congress. So yeah, we should be a nation that reflects our citizenry. I mean, we should be a politic that reflects our citizenry. So I think we're moving toward that, and that's why, just like you said, the change in that is causing every time there is a change, there is always a backlash
Yeah.
because people are pushing back against change. People hate change,
Yeah.
and it really takes a lot to change as a person.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And patterns and behavioral patterns and mind, like they say about like your brain, if you have negative thoughts, like it'll go, if you do it so many times, it just feels like that's the way, because it's been ingrained, but it's not really real, and this, I think the same thing with society. Like if you keep on going, okay, the woman stays at home instead, if we keep on playing these same old hits, it starts to take it. That's the way it goes. But is that the best for us? And what we're learning, it's not.
Well, it's first principle thinking. First principle thinking goes by what is a thing really true, and you got to break it down to, is a thing really true, or is a thing we just tradition?
Yes.
Is it tradition or is it true? Women can't drive. Okay. The data shows women are actually good drivers. They're better drivers. Uh, insurance studies prove that out. That's why women get a lower insurance, because they are better drivers. They're not as aggressive. Right. So, uh, women should, all these, what with these traditional ideas are not set in first person thinking. And so I'm sorry, first principle thinking, because you got to break it down. A lot of these ideas that we have about male female behavior, black white behavior, racial, there's not, it's, if you break those down, is it really truth or is it tradition?
Yes.
Yeah. And so when you start breaking it down, it's no truth in that. It's no truth that women can be in tech.
Yep.
Yeah, that's no truth. It's no
Not
truth in
true.
that. And actually, when
Or
you
women can't be a president, or they can't be a black quarterback, or
yeah, first, those are not first principle thinking, because it's just what you're used to, and you made it a truth that doesn't really, is not reflection of what is actually is
of the
true.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of the now, like I always say that with cannabis, I just sparked a little bit of, this is actually all CBD flower, but it's all grown outside, so it tastes great. I think it'll be,
Oh yeah. I
yeah,
said that, I was telling people I went to Amsterdam, and I went to the coffee houses, which is what they call their smoke houses.
yeah,
And they have, it's literally like Starbucks. You have just different types of weed or whatever. And so what was my point?
how good it
Oh
smells.
yeah, well, not, so I got it, and how fresh. Oh, I was like, damn. I said, I've never smoked weed that was so proud to be weed.
Yeah, that's the way the nature wants it, man.
Two parents, it played outdoors.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Amsterdam is beautiful, and I love their setup. And they actually, in the beginning of legalization, because I worked with High Times, and I went over there. I performed for High Times Cannabis Cup, so I met all the growers, all the big dudes in that.
Is High Times, I mean, the magazine, or High Times is a?
It's the magazine, and it came out in the 70s, and it was based in New York City, but they did the very first Cannabis Cup. It was weird to run a illegal magazine. The Cannabis Cup is the best cannabis in the world, and they never had it in the United States, but they always had it in Amsterdam. So in November every year since, I think, 84, like the best smugglers and growers, and it was very hush hush, backroom shit, would get together and like, these are the new strains, this is the new thing, and they would rate who was the winner. So when I went over there and I experienced Amsterdam, I thought it was just a great way to have a civilized cup of coffee and have a spliff. You know what I mean? It's just like, I hope New York City adopts that. Like, they just passed a law today. Like, it's about to go, Pat. I got this Cannabis Coffee Hour serious. I got Pat Brown on here. Buy it up right now because it's
when
about
a
to
man is
blow.
accused of 8 sexual sexual harassment charges, you will get the distraction of getting legalized marijuana.
I know Cuomo had it, but yeah, it's hot underneath the collar right now for Cuomo. You want to talk some New York politics? What's your thinking? Do you think he was a creep? Do you think he creeped up?
Absolutely, he's a creep. But
that's what from the chicks I've been asking.
I think he's taken from the playbook of Trump, though. Is like when you find yourself, the news is focused on one thing that is not benefiting you, then you change the story. And so, legalizing marijuana and legalizing cannabis right now is let's take the focus off me and put it on something else. And Trump was a master at doing that, he kept changing the channel, kept changing the narrative because he didn't want you to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The New York government, I voted for that girl. I liked her, but there's all kinds.
Sex in the City.
Yeah. I voted for Sex in the City. I did a benefit with her.
Cynthia
Dixon.
Nixon.
And I thought she was just like a good Democrat, and she's an artist. And to be a struggling actress in New York, and then to make it and to get her, I just thought she knew the city and knew how to. You know, the people that are involved in the arts in New York, the ones that are successful, know how this. Know the museums and know the statues, know the tourists, know Broadway. Like, these are major parts of the city that make the city the city. So I thought, and having a cool female, I thought that was cool. And she was all legalized all day. So I wanted her. I didn't know much about Cuomo, but when the pandemic hit, I liked his, his straightforwardness. And but now, yeah, I see what you're saying. But how long do governors last? Like, how long are they 2 years? Or they want, like, it seemed like
it's 4 years. And but I don't think, does New York limits its term? Because he's been a governor for 12 years, right?
Oh, you can just keep on going.
No, it's like 4 years. Every 4 years,
they don't stop it. Yeah, they don't. You can't.
No, he has to run every 4 years. But I don't know if there's a term limit. I mean, does he?
Right.
Can he go 3 terms or 4 terms? I don't know. His father, I think, went 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So maybe he's 16 years. I don't know. I have to look that up. I'm not sure on that, but because I know he has more terms than his father.
Yeah.
So if his father went 12, he had 16, or if his father went 8, then he had 12. But I think that's also comes with being in a life where you're a privileged man. You've been in politics all your life, and so, but what you don't have is people skills. People skills in terms of being peers with people. You're good at bossing people. You're good at, what I'm saying? You're good at telling people. But when you're trying to look for a mate, if a woman on your, you're seeing a person that is used to bossing people but doesn't know how to talk to people
as a human, and without the ego. Like, I've been learning about the ego and how much in with show business and everything. Yeah, I could totally see that. And I think, yeah, he's a career politician. That's what I kind of did some reading on him, and I was like, oh yeah, this with politics is such a hard game. It's like showbiz. So a lot of the more successful guys are the sharks, are the hammerhead sharks, and so a lot of those guys have a lot of dirt on them,
We allow that, though. We elect populist people because people are not biased. People don't do what's in their, they don't do what they should do. They do what they what makes them feel good. You
Yes.
know, they don't do what necessarily what's in their best interest. They do what makes them feel good. And so that's how we elect politicians. And because Trump was it's nothing that he's ever done throughout his life that would have made anybody think that he would be a good president. It's nothing in his body of work that made you
Atlantic City, it's a
yeah. But
dungeon.
if people got caught up in, oh, he's so funny or he's so enjoyable to watch and he says these outrageous
Yeah.
things, this, that, but that doesn't make a good leader.
No. Or
That
politics.
doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't make a good leader. No, not for the world.
Not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. Uh yeah, it's but I think I hope. I don't know. I have a sense that things will get better. I don't know. I just think it's a part of life, a part of the breath. Like we're learning and growing, even with sexuality, even with race relations, even, it's not about us, it's about all of us. In 1,000 years, eventually we're going to figure this out. Even climate change. Like I think we could figure it out if we all get really real about and speak the truth, and not speak the bullshit. You got to just address who you are, keep it real, but you got to address what is happening in the moment.
Mhm. Oh,
And right now
absolutely.
it's like, you're right. You're like, yeah, weed is great to be legalized, but this dude's got like 7 chicks saying he's a super creep.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Super creep. Super creep. Yeah.
creep
He
the ow.
yeah, exactly. And because this should actually been something that could have gotten done years ago. And I don't want them to rush through it because I feel like there is a certain amount of restitution and that should be applied to so many people, mostly young black and brown men that have through the stop and frisk that got caught with small bags, small supplies of weed and are in jail. And so I think
For a
those
long time. Pat, I did 3 nights in jail in New York City in 2007, but that's nothing compared to what has happened. But at least I felt it. And I know I'm not a bad person and I wasn't carrying serious weight. And I got caught up in the system. And I was like, this could go really wrong for a 17 or 18-year-old man with just a quarter. Let's say a quarter. That's 2/8. He has in his pocket. He's coming home from doing work at whatever restaurant, like, and gets popped. That's 10 years. That's 10
yeah,
years of funkiness that you got to deal with courts and shit that you don't got money for. You got to tell family. And
and you
all it
yeah.
is cannabis. And I do think cannabis is good for your brain and good for your body and much better alternative than alcohol and cigarettes. And
Yeah,
it,
I don't drink at all because it messes with my brain so much, and I've come to that decision. Uh,
you used to have a cocktail after shows now and then.
no, but I'm telling you that I've come to that decision after this pandemic because I've been trying to get up and early and whatever. Every time I drink, it's uh it's the drinking day and then it's the recovery day because I actually get because of depression. I told you how I feel
The
about
same way.
weed.
Yes.
So it takes me a day to recoup. So I said I don't have 2 days to recover from weed, and it bothers my sleep. So I don't drink anymore
You are efficient and smooth and cool, Pat.
because I
Just like
can't think. People think I'm this way because I don't have a choice. My brain is an ADD brain, and I'm trying to do everything I can to keep my brain as healthy and I can actually work and be productive without with getting good. And I find good sleep and exercise is the best thing for my brain.
100%. And when I get funky and my brain starts to, when mentally I feel when I'm off, is usually I'm not sleeping. And yeah, exercise, getting your mind, they say getting into your body. When you do yoga, they talk about, and anybody listening out there, if you have that mind, if your mind is racing and doing that thing, exercise, man, stretching, running, any of that to get into your body. Because that's the real truth is your body. Your mind is like a supercomputer. It's like a MacBook that's built in the top of your head. That's like,
but
pick
it's a
up this
muscle.
spoon, pick up this fork. You know, that's the type of shit. It shouldn't be waving around all this other bullshit sometimes, you know.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
exercise is a great way to do it. I've
I
kept you long, Pat.
no, but I was want to say these 2 points. I do it because weed, also weed and alcohol, they bother my sleep. If I don't get good sleep, then I don't focus. And if I don't focus, I don't get things done. And so I said, what do I want to live my life drinking to make and smoking to make people feel better, or do I want to get good night's sleep and actually be productive? And I don't miss it. I mean, I don't miss it.
Yep.
So, but what you were saying socially, I find that the burden is on the people that I used to hang out with, that they remember I took a glass of wine, and they want me to do that because most of the people that I hang out with are drinkers. But I'm
And you're cool as hell, Pat. I love hanging with you. But
yeah,
yeah,
but
I
I'm
get
like, you gotta hang with me when I'm doing tea now, and this is just herbal tea.
What do you got? What kind of tea? What do you got in your cup for the listeners and the viewers at home?
It's nothing special. I just got spearmint tea because I also have food allergies, so a lot of things I can't have flavored things. So
I
I'm
love
just doing.
spearmint, but there's no caffeine. But
Nope.
it's easy and cool. Chamomile does the same thing. Hemp, you may want to try hemp tea. It doesn't trip you out, but it does. You know, it's
Well,
just
if
a
it got CBD all in it, I mean CBD, I would love try it because it does relax me, CBD. So I do still
it's
vape
good
on
for your
CBD.
nose. Yeah, it's. I mean, not in the nose. What am I saying? Good for your knees. It's good
Okay.
for your knees. And as we get older, our knees. That have you been? Have you been? I gotta go. You know about collagen?
Oh, I'm familiar with it, but I haven't studied it because I know a
Yeah,
lot of my friends, a few of my friends take it for their, to stay pretty.
yeah, it's
Collagen.
definitely. I got it from my wife, who's all about that goop life. You know,
Yeah, that goop life. Yeah, I
it's
get
all
it.
about that goop life, and but it does help your knees. It's just like as you get older, the cartilage starts to go away.
Mhm.
So it's just a way of anti-inflammatory, but it does build up cartilage in your knee. Shout out anybody. One more last question. You brought up you tried microdosing. Do you mind just sharing? Was that a beneficial with mushrooms? Did you like that situation? Because you were, I met you, you know, you're a basketball jock. You weren't like hippy dippy, I'm tripping acid and listen to funkadelic all
I
weekend.
had good results with microdosing. The only thing, the mushrooms that I got were inconsistent. Like, so sometimes I would feel something and sometimes I wouldn't. So it's like I would prefer to even grow my own. I'm just doing too many things. I can't take that on. I, but I would absolutely grow my own because it was when the mushrooms were actually good mushrooms. I did. You take just a small amount. It's just enough, such a small amount. It just makes you feel. You say to yourself, "Why am I happy?" And then you remember, oh, I took that. It's not enough to make you trip out, or you even feel it on if you're not even thinking about it. But it's just enough to bring your mood up, and so that's what I was taking it for. Because a lot of times in my ADD brain, and I found that just it kills my mood, and when my mood is down, that I'm not as productive. But like I said, since going forward, just exercise and sleep. Everything is sleep. Everything is sleep. Was telling somebody I love sleep so much. If a girl says she's coming over, I like late at night, I was like, well, can you come in the morning? Because it's no more. It ain't no more booty calls for me. If you got to get here by 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
or you got to come in the morning because
I'm morning energy. I like the morning energy. Yeah, I like the.
as I've gotten older, because I actually I had a joke about this too. It's like I want all my shows early. I want, if I can get a show at 6:30 and be over at 8, I'm good.
Yep.
See, yeah, I'm trying to get all those Bill Cosby shows. I know he had some shows that were like 3:30 in the afternoon.
Noon. Yeah, he got so famous he could sell out a place like at noon, and yeah, his crowd
But
was
no, but I
they would
actually
go to it.
I saw him perform in 2010, I think. It was 2010 or something like that, and 2008. And it was at 4 o'clock on a Saturday. That is perfect. And he did 2 hours. So imagine 6 o'clock, he's probably at home at 7:30.
Yeah, and he already had a dinner too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, that's those early times. Let me just say this about, I just want to get back to this and just
Sure.
say that what I'm talking about, the marijuana thing, that I want I don't want them to rush this, because I feel like Black Americans, since we took the brunt of all these going to jail off these small amounts of weed, we have to be that's one way of doing reparations, is to make sure that Black Americans that want to get in the industry are some of the leaders that are getting into the weed industry in New York, meaning selling it, and because we've been disproportionately affected by these stop and frisk and jail for small amounts of weed. So I think that could be one way to also help the community and everybody. That's I always argue this point with people, and then they understand it. There's no difference between how drug use among Black people and white people, but we got the higher drug sentences. I was on somebody's podcast and he was talking about how much he got high. And I said, just imagine if I got high just as much as you did, but we're walking home, I'm more likely to get stopped than you. So is that fair? I mean, we both get high, but I'm more likely to get stopped. And so that is not fair to me, because they were focused on Black people, so in Black communities.
It's easier, yeah, it's an easier bust, and they're in communities, and
yeah, but if they're never stopping you, you can continue on your way and then live the life you wanted. But just like you said, when you go to jail, it changes your life.
Changes your life. Changes everything.
A lawyer, you got some of us, you don't have the time to get off bail, so you stay in jail. You might lose a job, and then if you get convicted, there's your life.
And if you have kids, or you're affected, or you were a guy that was watching, the older sister or something like that, so it spins family, and everything's family. The older
everything is family, man.
Everything's family. So once you start fucking up families, it's like, dude, society is just gonna run wrong. Once you start splitting up families like that. And yeah, with pot, I used to have an old joke, is like, with weed, it's like, you can't people, since the beginning of time, people are gonna smoke weed and people are gonna suck dick. All right. Dicks gonna skip. So you can put as many laws, you can put all the laws in the world, but let me tell you, since the beginning of time, people have been sucking dicks. Dicks have been getting sucked. Somebody's going to be sucking, and somebody's going to get their dick sucked. All right. That's just that it's built like a popsicle. It's just how it is. You don't have to do it. You don't have to. Same thing with weed. Weed's going to get smoked. People are going to smoke. Not everybody. Not everybody's going to suck dick.
Yeah.
But
it's gonna be weed. It's gonna get
somebody.
smoked.
It's gonna go down. It's gonna go down.
Exactly.
So you're just setting. It's a Venus flytrap. It's gonna happen. It's automatic, and that's why I think it's automatic money.
But I think that's why they legislate it, because it's money. You're absolutely. Money. If they legislate it, if it is free, but I feel like you can make, just like healthcare, you can make money on doing the right thing.
Yes.
If you're selling it. If the government is selling it, or if there's a business involved in the business of selling weed, then you are making money. Society's making money. There's the economy out of it.
Yep.
Sell it.
You sell it. It's moving. Money is moving. But you're right. If we need to position, because here's where the old white money is. You know where the old white money is?
It's in
Anheuser-Busch.
Drugs is in drugs and liquor.
Tobacco and liquor is all the old fucking money, because that shit popped. And when that shit popped, people got generational wealth happen. Exactly. So if we could somehow step it, not somehow, but position people, but yeah, right before the pandemic, it was already corporations going in there and doing it. And that's why I always on this podcast support small businesses, support small growers, because small business, American small business, this is what we got to build this economy back on, you know.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
mom and pop shop,
That's why I don't want them to rush this thing through. I want them to do due diligence
yeah.
and make sure this law is equitable for especially the communities that have been most affected by these drug laws.
Oh, that's great, Pat. We'll sign off on that. I appreciate your time. We've done over an hour. You've been I haven't seen you in so long. Anybody doesn't know, Pat and I toured with Tracy Morgan, rode on private planes together, and had awesome conversations.
We did
Awesome shows, ate awesome food, laughed, and I wasn't high during. Anybody knows is like when I work with somebody, it's professional, and Tracy ain't it ain't smoking weed, you know, he ain't fucking with that shit. So I was dead sober for all that experience. And I had the best. It was still with you guys. You guys are so good to me and so kind, and brought me into, you know, the world. And I just, it's one of the things I'll look back on, Pat, is touring with you and Tracy and Artie and Mark and Roberta. It was just such a privilege, an awesome privilege that many white dudes like me don't ever get to have, to be the one white dude on an all black but cool, you know, just a strong show. And I even put away, sometimes I don't even know why I brought that up, because we're just all great friends, and it was just a great experience, Pat, and something I will always treasure.
It was really fun. Let me ask you this though. How did you feel when you did the show, when you did
The Last OG?
The Last OG.
That was amazing. Like I needed a break, man. I needed something to pop and come.
I came after, I think the day that you taped, somebody said, yeah, Rob taped yesterday. I was like, Rob taped? I didn't know, because I would have been there, but good for you.
R.I.P. to Mums, who I shared a scene with, who's a excellent deaf poet. Def Jam poet was where he kind of popped out from, but he also was a screenwriter and a playwright. And I got to do a scene with him and Lord Jamar. And I grew up on Brand Nubian. I watched Brand Nubian on Rap City in DC, like, Grand Poobah, all that shit. So that
nice. Okay.
So that shit, Grand Poobah was bigger than Jay-Z at the time. Grand Poobah's huge in DC. Like, Brand Nubian was huge. And we had that's the thing about DC. We had almost just as good or better hip hop radio stations. So I listened to all that. So to do a scene with him, that was just awesome. And I got the call literally like the night. That was the only thing, is like, I didn't have any time to prepare. Like they called me like, it was at the end of the season, and they were just shooting. And I just, Donnell they couldn't get Donnell. And then Rob Cantrell, they got brought up. And I made some money that day. I did a scene, and I did it with Mom. And, I met Lord Jamar. I worked with Mark Theobald. And man, that was, and to be on set was great, man. Nice. I loved it. I love acting. I mean, I like that was good. And I like to build up from there. So I've been doing some Zoom auditions. I've been getting better at it. So
nice.
That's
me too. I've been doing some self tapes too. So yeah, I actually enjoy it too, because it's another way to perform.
Yeah. It's just another way, whether it's music or making short videos or stand up. I just think if you're creative, just jump in there, and it's, as long as I don't have to do a side gig, whether it's acting or stand up or music, any showbiz gig is better than a square gig. I don't, any show. Yeah, you got that writing gig. I don't know, Pat Brown, you got a dope ass write. You wrote for the ESPYs? Was that it?
I wrote for the ESPYs. I wrote for NFL Honors. I wrote for Steve Harvey in the NFL Honors this last Super Bowl.
How dope is that?
Yeah, it was great. It was absolutely great opportunity. And amazing. This is the only thing that was bad this year, because I wrote last year for them too. It was so great last year. Oh, because we were all in the same room. And so I was able to pitch ideas, and write ideas with other comics. And I told you I'm a person that likes to collaborate. So this year was harder because of the pandemic, and so we worked remotely or by ourselves, and so it wasn't as fun. But yeah, I'm very proud of it.
Oh, I think it's awesome, Pat. And I just think anybody that's listening, if you need a writer, comedian, Pat Brown should be in all shows, all auditions out there. And if I was directing a show, I'd have you in it. And we need to get you a Netflix show so I could be your goofy weed dealer. And
I'm working on that right now. Actually, I am working on something. I wrote a pilot during the pandemic. So
your focus, Pat. I love it. And you should get
because I don't drink.
You don't drink.
And I'm getting some sleep.
I'm not hitting on you right now. I'm just saying you look great. You look radiant. You've always been a beautiful energy to me. And I think I'm just.
Oh, thank you, Rob. I feel the same. I feel the same about you.
Thank you, Pat. Have a great
day. And I am hitting on you.
Yeah.
Tell your wife, her too. Come on.
Yeah. Let's mix it up. I need it. Yeah, Pat. I'll put you into it. You're beautiful. But I got to get some more collagen for my knees if we're going to. Collagen. I don't want to throw my knee at that age. You add it, something to throw out. I hit it very softly these days. I don't want to throw anything out.
Nice.
But Pat, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing the Cannabis Coffee Hour podcast.
It was my pleasure, Rob. I love you too. Keep it up.
You too. And I can't wait to see you after this bullshit is done. COVID.
For real.
Yeah.
Promises. We'll meet up for coffee.
Yeah, we'll get some coffee. Let's do it. I want to come out. You're still in Harlem, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to, and I'm in Brooklyn. Come down here or come to Harlem. We got it locked.
Okay.
Cool.
I would love to. I don't get down to Brooklyn as I don't have a reason to go to Brooklyn as much, so I would love to.
Now you do. Yeah, come out. You know what just opened last year? It's dope. Is the Grill. It's a Jamaican restaurant down here on Fifth Avenue.
Grill. It sounds great.
It is fucking amazing, and it's high-end Jamaican it's the real deal. They got Blue Mountain coffee, they got jerk chicken, and it's Black owned, it's Jamaican owned. And shout out to the Grill. I don't get to go there enough because of this, but it's right down the street. So we go get lunch over there. Mark can come through. I've seen Mark around.
Oh yeah, nice. Oh, you guys are close to the same area?
Close in the same area, totally. He's stopped by a couple times that I've seen him. He'll ring, and I try to keep tabs on Mark. He's the guy I look up to. Like, that guy's got life together.
yeah. I love Mark. He's just good energy.
Yeah, awesome energy, the best.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, that's it.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.